Ownership encapsulates a lot of like big ideas from what we're talking about wearing the hats to being an owner, having the ability to manage your time and acknowledging that you can't do it on your own. Which of those things was the hardest thing, Brad, when you decided to become an owner for you to acknowledge?
Acknowledge that you can't do it yourself, because I am incredibly type A. I'm a control freak and I've always worn all the hats. I never delegated well. I was never good at that. So being able to acknowledge and get honest with myself that I was never going to be able to grow a company or teach other agents, grow other people, unless I add that right game first.
Was there a turning point? Was there an event or something that triggered your acknowledgement and your acceptance that you couldn't do it on your own?
When I became an owner. So, we're realtors, right? We think we can do it all ourselves. We're used to being the transaction manager, the sales team, the client intake. We're used to wearing all of these different hats when we are.
Well, let's face it. We all have top producer personalities. That's not business owner mentality. We're out there rainmaking, doing the deals, talking to people, and just creating a wake of drama behind us.
Oh, yeah. I call myself the most beautiful disaster or most beautiful hurricane you've ever met, right? And being a hot producer,
that's the personality type. So take what got me here is not going to be the same skills that gets me here.
So, and that's you. For me, I had to realize that I wanted to scale. And I also, at the time, was going through, I wanted to become a mother and I want a family and I also want a life and I like to travel. Like, all the things. I want all the things, right? So how am I going to get all of the things? Because I don't know how to say no. It's only by trusting in other people to bring into my organization and support me. So what I had to really realize, and I think is important for everybody, is you have to look at what is your time worth, okay? What is your hourly rate? Figure that out first. Now, it's something you have to hold yourself to, because if you can outsource a task for less than your hourly rate, outsource it. Okay, have to get strict with yourself about this, because your time is money and time is the most valuable asset that we have. So you have to protect it. And there's what I'm learning to do and being better at every day in my business.
Identifying those pain points of what it takes to be an owner. So from systems, profitability, and people, Deborah, which of these have you spent the most time with by you?
Well, profitability is a byproduct of having good people and systems.
Okay.
So you can't get to one without the other. And what we talked about in our prep session was the pain points are what drive you to make improvements in your business. The pain point is not necessarily the thing that you need to fix. Brad has some really good insights about the pain points he had. He recognized that his personality was not the person to do the thing. So the part that causes us pain, you have to dig deeper and to figure out how to fix that pain point. We solve problems for a living for our clients. That's exactly what we're here to talk about today, how we solve the problems as a business owner.
To me, pain points, what speaks to you?
Yeah, so for me, I wanted more time back. And one of my pain points too was that I wanted to scale my business and I really wanted to attract agents to my business, because again, there's a great profit center in being an owner. That's why I became an owner. So I wanted certain experience for people of recruiting and onboarding. So I actually went deep in that process in my business, which we'll share in a minute, to solve that problem for myself, because I am a type A, I am a perfectionist, right? And I knew that I wanted to create that experience, so I had to figure it out. But for me, I have certain way that I represent myself and my brand, and that's built me into the agents I am today and how I'm so successful because of that brand. And if I'm going to bring other people into that circle of, my brands, I want to make sure that they are, represented just as well as I would. And it's the systems that allow them to understand it. So then
it puts the controls and the accountability in place. So yes, you have guardrails in place so that no matter who you bring in, you have to hire right, but then you have the guardrails in place to make sure that.
And I couldn't do it every time I brought somebody in. I can't fool to one every single time explaining it and training them. I had to create these standard operating procedures and these how-to videos and these step-by-step processes, to make sure that I create, something that I can do over and over again.
Brad is great that we're going to get to it about his system.
I have to say, in preparing for this segment here, the collaboration we had, I have already implemented things from follow-up boss deals that Tiffany had hers set up. I revised how I did mine, and it's amazing how quickly it made things better.
Good.
And Brad's spreadsheet that he's going to share also.
We already just sort of talked about the aha moments, so I think that we don't necessarily have to dive into that unless there's anything on there that you guys want to like pull out right now.
I would bet on the invest.
Do
it. Right? Yeah. So one of the hardest things about transitioning from a top producing agent to a business owner is this idea of capital invest, right? Not just of actual dollars, but of time, right? When you step into this idea where you've added all these other additional hats like HR and like QuickBooks and all of the other things that come into business ownership, it sups the life out of your time.
You hurt your production if you don't take something away from what we're about to offer you and put it into process so that your production numbers don't fall as you scale.
But do it smart, right? So like, for instance, I'm always a big advocate of you got to spend money to make money, right? And I was at one point spending about $100,000 a year with the in-house marketing girls. And now I've readjusted things and I spend $30,000 a year and I get even more attention and time than I had before. So I'm saving money, getting more out of the people that I have within my organization. So I'm being smart about it, but I'm still not afraid to hire people in my business. I'm just doing it the right way.
Brad, you mentioned capital investments. Will you share with the group what investments you made this last year?
So a full-time hire. So I'm not going to share her salary, but the other component to that is when you put somebody on salary, guess what? The actual cost to your actual cost as an owner is not just the salary. You also have to pay their portion of the taxes, the employer portion of the taxes, sure, insurance, and all of these other kinds of yeah. So it's actually like almost 1.5 times that you're going to pay per employee when you put people on salary. And then on top of that, we also bought a building because we're a small market where people need object permanence, right? They needed to see, and I wanted to make a statement to our competitors and to people I wanted to be bringing in the business and say, we're here, we're not going anywhere. And so we added essentially about $120,000 in overhead in a year, which was
just real money.
It's real. Yes, it was a huge sacrifice. And it was, that in and of itself is what brought something different out. When you put somebody else on payroll, you are now responsible for that person's family. You're responsible for their livelihood. And that was something I had never sacrificed before. It was, money was coming in, everything was good, right? All of a sudden now it's like, I got to make sure that person is taken care of in that person's families.
Well, and then as the business owner, so now you're focusing on these things and you think my team production is going to help smooth the gap, but team production is not as profitable as your own personal production. So the balancing act of that was the pain point for me is I was rolling back from production. My team produces fine, but the company dollar is not enough.
How long did it take you to realize that?
Well, I'm in year 3 now. So last year was really hard, really hard because I grew. I have all of the volume in my marketplace. I'm a leader and it looks on the surface like, wow, but I'm dying inside every day because it just isn't. My bank account is less. I made more money as a solo agent previously. I'm like, I'm doing this wrong. And you said I had to dig deep in myself and pull more out of me. Everybody in here has greatness in them, but it's not until you have the pressure that greatness will surface.
And I also just want to share is that I had to make a sacrifice to decide that I want to scale and I want to do more, but I can't physically do it alone as one human being. So I had to commit to saying, okay, I'm going to bring in a buyer's agent that works in my book of business. This isn't me passing a lead to an agent in my company and I get a 50% piece of that. No, this is my book of business that I've committed to agents in my business that I trust. anything on the buy side, I split it with them 50-50. And then on the sell side, it's 70-30. So I even take the pain because I see the bigger picture as his owner, right? So I'm still in production, but I have support and I'm able to scale AG so much more. But that was a sacrifice I made for the bigger picture down the road.
But the balance of that cash flow on a month, I'm going to say weekly, because when cash flow is tight, it's a weekly thing. But managing the cash flow as you get there, it was year over year. That's the part that we need to be talking about.
Tiffany, you threw splits out there, so I just want to clarify for everybody. When you say a 70-30, you're keeping 70.
I am keeping 70.
And why are you keeping 70?
Well, because I spend the money on the marketing. I cover all the marketing expenses. But again, like I'm doing more than I could have done alone. So I'm making more money and I'm giving away a significant piece.
And your clients are well cared for because you don't have the bandwidth.
I was like, you don't just get me, you get me and like 4 other people on my team to give you impeccable service.
Brad, the zone of greatness, you brought this to us. Explain to us what this slide is and how you leverage this concept into your hiring methods.
So the biggest thing before you make any hire, right, or before you make any major move in your business is you have to take a self-examination, right? You have to really get real with yourself and say, this is what I'm good at. This is what brings me life. This sucks the ever-loving life out of me. I don't need to do this, right? So basically, the or the quadrant kind of showed it to you. If you love it and you're good at it, live and focus in that. That brings you energy. It's going to bring you life and it's going to bring you the most dollars in your basics. If you hate it, but you're good at it, Tiffany's the boss at this, is that she is awesome at systematizing and outsource. I suck at that. I'm terrible at it. That's why I made a full-time hire. She's in the room. Her name is Emily. Hired Emily. What you will find is when you are wired a particular way, right? And you meet somebody who's wired differently than you, there can be friction there, but there's also a ton of opportunity and there's this magic that happens because they can take a spreadsheet and do something that I couldn't probably have done if I spent, I don't know how much time, and they can do it in a fraction of the time. So
time that took away from you actually working your business.
Right, exactly, and generating revenue for the company. So this is just like a basic quadrant, and what we call the zone of greatness is where you are at your best and it's adding the most value to your business.
So you take the zone of greatness and then you do a needs assessment in hiring. There's 3 different needs assessments that you take, right?
Yes. So
DISC.
We love the DISC. Everybody in the room has heard of the DISC assessment, right? DISC. And use it to hire people. Yes, use it to hire label, right? We also love the Enneagram. I've taken like every personality test under the sun. It kind of obsessed over it and nerd out about it. So if you ever want to talk about that, go to the outside. But we love the Enneagram because it gives a little bit more just options and it shows how you're going to interact with people. And then there's Clifton Strengths, which really focuses more on what you do in the workbook.
And your people that you hire have to operate in their zone of greatness as well. So if you hire all the people who have the same personality, you're not going to get the results you need to cover all of the facets of the business. So, but if you hire somebody for a position and they are not operating in their own gifts and talents, it's not going to work. And then you'll have churn that just is painful. It steps you back further.
You have to retrain.
You have to, yes, you're just reaping.
There is additional costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And time is money.
Time is money.
Time is money.
Time is money.
Yeah.
And that's why we build scalable systems.
Yeah.
So the 2 of you talk about Follow Boss, because I know you guys leverage it. Brad, I don't remember. Yes. And you have it talk to what other program?
Asana.
There you go. Go.
So good. You don't have it, get it today because we're going to share how we use that in our business. We use this very heavily. For Follow-Up Boss, we use SEALs heavily, which I cannot know without looking at my deal scores every day and seeing what my pipeline looks like. Like I love it. And I make sure that all my agents are using it as well because I always see like what's happening, what's, currently pending, what I've closed so far, the cover of deals I've done, and what's hot or, leads that I have to go and warm up to get them into it.
Brad, any of these systems that you are leveraging,
So we use Follow Boss and SME Google Suite. Our SOPs and operating systems all pretty much live inside Google Suite. We're not anywhere near as built out as these guys are. That's what
Emily and I were capped in the first year. I just wanted everybody to know, like, I'm in my 4th year inside as a business, as a brokerage owner, like, you sort of need time, guys. And I figure this out. That's why we're here to share, like, don't make the mistakes we make. We're here to, like, give you the shortcut.
To supplement the tools that Side has. So we're using Side's tools, but then we've found ways to supplement to get what we want. I needed something to, I mean, the Side app is great, but from a financial standpoint, it wasn't everything that I needed. So I built a board in Asana to match, but I have a double check in place using Deals and Follow Up Boss should match my Asana board, should match my Side app. And now it's easy for me to cross check and make sure I know what's going on.
Yeah. G Suite based also.
G Suite based. Okay. The streamlining your SOPs, when I mentioned earlier that I've already learned something from Mr. Brad over here. This Zoom plus Balance plus Prompt and ChatGPT. Share what this magic is.
So there is this lovely little thing. It's called ChatGPT. If you're not spending 30 minutes a day playing with it, you are probably falling behind. What I realized, especially when I brought on 3 brand new agents, is brand new agents have a lot of questions, and you'll get them from one agent, and then 2 days later, you'll get them from the next one, and then 2 months later, they'll come back and say, "What was that one thing that you taught me?" And what I realized was I was having another time suck, right? Constantly being self-aware of where we're losing time, and now we have a policy at our office. If I'm going to do anything more than once or answer any question more than once, there is a recording, a procedure, and a process that gets built out from that. So this is my golden takeaway for you. Anytime in your business you are going to say something more than once, get on Zoom, press the record button. Fathom is an AI note taker and transcriber. Yes, there is one built into Zoom too. That's probably good enough, but I think it's better. It will transcribe the conversation for you. And when you're getting into teaching agents, you can be very specific and nuanced, especially when you're talking about like things that could go a variety of different ways, right? Take that transcription from Fathom, put it into ChatGPT and say, I just did this training with my agent. Please write me an SOP that I can use to have for FAQs and for training purposes in the future. You will shortcut so much just by doing that one time. So if it's something you might take 15 minutes doing once and it saves you hours down the line, it's a magical tool and it'll spit out SOPs faster and better than an
Especially if you use Please.
Yes. You have a similar process. Where do your trainings live and how do you make sure that people are actually accomplishing?
Yes. So we use Asana a lot. We have a 4-week onboarding process that I've built out, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But everything lives in Asana, which also lives on a Google Drive. Now, there's also a great tool we all have called Continue. So Continue has a set of trainings that Side provides to us that I can assign to my agents and see if they watched it or not before I allow them to get access to certain things in my business. So that is something that's helped me a lot to know, no, I'm not giving you my listing presentation, or I'm not getting you leads in my Follow Boss when you haven't even done Follow Boss trainings. So I'm requiring these things. So that helps me a lot. And then like he said, anytime that I'm training, I have monthly calls with my agents. I do 4 quarterly masterminds a year, and I go deep in training them. And then what if I bring an agent on next week? I want them to know everything I just learned. I just pulled that. So again, I'm also Zooming and I recorded all those meetings. So they live on my company portal where they can be accessed anytime for PHX.
Deborah, are you doing this?
I do. I do all of that. I do want to say Google has a free screen share that you can just record your screen share. So anything that happens with us, we screen share. And I do that for the benefit of the VAs to smooth the translation. That they all speak English, but it's really helpful if you actually do a screen share when you're teaching your VAs, and then it lives in the library in Google Drive.
I love Saddle because we'll talk for an hour. There was a lot said. It'll really help her be able to kind of organize all the notes and search for something I might have said, don't forget to do that. And then I moved on to 10 other things. So she's like, oh my God. But she can go in and search it really easily. because we're always moving at a fast pace.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, always. So it's really helpful with doing that as well.
Okay. The magic hire right here. Brad, this one's yours.
The magic hire is able to build things like this. I am nuts. So one of the first things I did when I hired Emily was to go into Continue and audit everything that side offers, because that's very overwhelming, right? Especially first year in your business. But when you have somebody who can go in and audit that for you, you can look at all these resources that are already built out. There's tons of playbooks that are provided that give you a baseline, and then you can start building from then. And that's what Emily did.
She audited. By auditing, you mean she summarized basically everything that was offered and just presented it to you and said, "Here's, take care of me."
Yeah, exactly. These are all of the resources that are at our disposal. We need to fill in these gaps.
Well, and you pick the key components and you plug them into your training. Brad has a spreadsheet. We have a Asana checklist. So if you haven't gone through, you're going through your checklist of completions. Oh, you skipped that one. Back to square one. Until you finish that, you get nothing.
You have to set standards and requirements, especially for anything at these start to grow, or else nobody's going to have consistency of your brand. And also, if you don't ensure that the people you're recruiting and bringing in understand the value we have here at Side and use the tools, then they're going to get their ear caught up in somebody's silly conversation about going to some downline company, and they're going to be bye-bye. They're gone. But you have to educate them on all the incredible value we give to that by making sure they know the resources.
I have extended trainings beyond. We have a 30, 60, 90-day board built out, and I have extended it past that period. But if somebody is doing the work and I can see they're doing the work and following the checklist, they're worth investing in. But somebody who isn't going to do it, they're not our people. They're not our people anyway. So
bye.
Bye.
To keep your entire business engaged, Deborah, you leverage that heck out of Slack.
Oh my gosh. So Slack is a blessing and a curse all at the same time. Be careful what you ask for. But it does help us keep everything tidy. This is a screenshot of mine and I see everything. So mine is more overwhelming than the others. But for example, with listings, we have a property channel in Slack, and only the relevant people are added to that channel. So the listing agent, if they have an assistant, the transaction coordinator, listing manager, director of ops, and me. So all of the communications stay in one place. We don't have, emails like crazy, and it reduces the number of group texts. Everything stays in there. So agents that like to work at night, 10 o'clock at night, they're working on whatever, they can log their communication in Slack. The transaction manager will see it.
Slack, it memorializes everything.
Yes. So we have vendor channels. You need a carpet cleaner. You can look in the vendor channel, which also matches our follow-up boss pond of vendors. So there's a little bit of duplication there, but when the agents ask you 17 times, the channels we use the most though are each of my EO partners. So they have their own channels to communicate. And then we have a general group chat, and then we're Zillow Flex. So our Zillow Flex channel is where all of our Zillow transactions live.
Does your entire team want the Zillow Flex leads?
Unless they choose not to, because the requirements are high. So if they're not willing to do what is required, then no, it's not a requirement for anyone in my company to take Zillow Flex leads. But if you want them, you've got to perform.
Okay. Tiffany, your recruiting, the onboarding process is enviable. How long did it take you to build it, and share with everybody what they're looking at on the slide?
Okay, so let me take you guys through this and explain this to you. So for me, I wanted to create a certain experience. Also, as you, Paul, heard before, I really protect my time. Okay, so I have to create something that the systems are going to work for me. My support team is going to be able to work for me. That could pop in where necessary. So whenever somebody's interested in joining my company, we first start them on our website. We have a careers page. On that careers page, I created a little video, which is a little snapshot of what it looks like to be a part of a line. Now, a lot of things are white labeled because there are things that Side provides to me. So I look like I had this incredible opera, which I did. I do. So I created this really cool video. Anybody can go on and see. If you go to my website, go to my careers page, you can see the video that I hired somebody that creates the lead. It shows all the tool. If they're still interested after that, they can create an inquiry form or ask them a bunch of questions. That inquiry form goes to my remote assistant. My remote assistant then qualifies them and sees, now there's Asana. This all goes into Asana through Zapier. Okay, I have a lot of different things. Zapier goes into my Asana, and now I have a qualified lead. An agent is a lead for the qualified the lead board, and they go through these steps where my assistant can look and see based on the questions and what they answer. Are they somebody I would consider having a meeting with, or are they like a grant? I don't take brand new agents just because I don't have the capacity and the stamina spread on. So I don't take them. So they have literally in Asana, you'll see it has like a yes agent or a no agent and attempt to email. So she already knows what's to set them up. If they're a yes agent, now this email is with all this information about my company. And a high note, nobody knows what high note is. It's another really cool program we have. Their side, the editio. And there's a kind of all about my offering or in depth. And at the bottom of that offering is my slits. And they're able to see all of it. And at the end of that, they're still interested. Oh, and I also include my company agreements and a sample ICA because I want to make sure that you really want to be in my company and work with me before I'm going to give you my toner. And that's how I operate. Not for everybody. If they still want to be in my company after that, I will have an interview with them. It most likely at that point goes really well because I've done a lot of steps before that, right?
Pre-qualified the heck out.
Yeah, my syndic has really done it all for me. And to the point where I'm sitting in the meeting with that, And if they decide to join, then we really get deep into Asana where we have a 4-week onboarding process. Okay, it seems intense, but I'm an intense person. And I have a lot of very specific things I want done and things I want these agents trade on. So I have taken a lot of time to work with Side to know, here are the things that Side does from an onboarding perspective. Here are the things I do, and here's what an agent has to do. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys this entire board. It's literally every single step that you can see. So if you you could go to my Instagram, @70patosi, and the first can post about Side by Side. If you just messaged Side 2025, you'll get an instant download, okay? And you can see how I use systems like that even in my Instagram with Instagram and ManyChat. And there's all these automations that I don't have to answer every DM because all these things are happening for me automatically, right? So that's a cool thing to check out. Go ahead and you can tag it. We're also going to give it to you at the end too.
As impressive as that was, we have shared a lot. I didn't realize, so I use Asana for my transaction management and listing management as well. This is a snapshot of I hate to say it, I love a lot of things about Side, but the demands and reconciliation, the cash part of it is really hard and hasn't been all that useful.
Take fair criticism.
Thank you. What I did was I built my own transaction management board. And as I move things through the pipeline from pre-listing to coming soon, active, all the way through, whether it's buyers or sellers, my agents put something under contract in Slack. They fill out a quick little form and it auto-populates into Asana. My transaction manager, listing manager, and operations director pick it up and it runs through. And the most important thing to me is based on splits and GCI, all the things, I know how much cash is coming in. So I can look on a weekly basis and see where we are.
Cash is important. It's time is money. And how do you measure it? Well, what's the measure for you to calculate you're spending the right amount of time to get that investment?
Everything we're doing, we're building out. You've spent 4 years building your processes to buy your time back.
Yeah.
That is a very good book, by the way. We're going to share our book list. Buy Back Your Time is an amazing book that will teach you how to do these things and to organize it.
What's important too is to know that you have to be able to let things go. And I mean, I always wanted to, only I can do them the way that they're supposed to be done. Have to get over that. That's not the owner mentality that is going to see you grow, right? You have to trust in others and equip that with the tools they need and the training. Like I had to slow down to seat up. I had to stop and take the time to trade my assistants on a Zoom, explaining everything to them so then they can create the SOPs and they don't ask me again. Or things for my agents, right? They don't ask you again when you create systems and processes. So slowing down to seat up and investing in these tools and people around you is going to help.
And then they use the tools and they help each other. So we use Slack for that, where all the stuff is in there. But if I'm not available, it doesn't matter because they can help each other by putting their question in Slack. Somebody will direct them to the place in Google Drive to find the library of resources.
Give it to you if you're not available. information is so.
Well, now we're business owners, and you should have to think differently than when you were just an agent. And you have to think about what is the experience you're providing to your agents? What is the experience you're providing to your clients? There's more than just when you showed up every day to service your specific book of business, right? So don't be overwhelmed by it. Just bite it off one piece at a time and look 4 years later. Yes, it looks so, oh my gosh, you have these things, but it took many times.
And you don't start with all of it. No, for me, like, okay, I want to focus on profitability. So yes, I had QuickBooks. You know what? I hate QuickBooks. QuickBooks sucks. I don't love it. But now I have gone through a couple of iterations of this, but I have an amazing bookkeeping service that created a dashboard for me that reconciles with the side demand statements. And now I actually know what's what.
It took time though.
That was last year.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in year 1 or year 2 while I was fumbling through all of these things. It just starting to really come together.
We have some books to recommend. Fly Your Time Back.
Rocket Fuel and the EOS system. Brad and I both are big fans of that.
Rocket Fuel is basically about finding that right hand, right? If you're somebody who is like me and you truly know that you suck at systems and you need somebody to be that right hand, it's all about finding that person to help you build it.
The entrepreneurial operating system. He is the visionary. He hired his integrator. It works.
Yeah, and I share it exactly what to say. So, I mean, this is something that I give every single agent that comes into my company. When they first come in, I also give them like a swag bag of like some of my merch, because you always want your agents wearing your merch, your brand. So invest in that. It's something worth investing in. Is it feels great when you see your agents representing your brand.
And they're proud to do it.
They're proud to do it. Boy, I get this as a side partner. We have our own unique brand. Yes, it's just great. So I get them exactly what to say, which is like something just for your lights to know how to lead.
I give the compound effect, Darren Hardy's book, because on a daily basis, what you do matters, and you can build strength in the muscle, the habits that come from that.
And I love You Are a Badass, because you are a badass. Every single one of you in here, everybody is their own version of a badass. So that book really spoke to me when I first started in this industry, actually. And, when I go back to it now where I have like certain parts highlighted and underscored, it's like, yes, it inspires you up, guys. So everybody needs a little reminder, about what their greatness is and why they're doing what they're doing. So I put it.
And who had to take us there?
I did. I got to hear Rory Vaden speak recently, and he has a couple of really good books. Procrastinate on Purpose is another one. Take the Stairs brings us back to an elementary level so that we can build a foundation that will carry you where you want to go. And it always is, you got to start with the outcome in mind. Brett Jennings just said that in his breakout session. If you know where you're going, if you have a clear picture of what you're building, then you can go back to the bottom level, the foundation, and start building. And you build on your foundation layer after layer after layer. And then guess what? You go back and you revise it. Because I love Asana and Slack, but I scrapped all of it a year and a half ago and started over and said, now I know what I didn't know, and I rebuilt it again.
And everyone in the audience can find the systems and the dashboards and all the stuff that these brilliant owners have discussed here today at that QR. We have 1 minute and 53 seconds left. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. John Grant, Artie Jolly, you might go see.
Could any of you take a step back and provide some insight into how you actually
Recruit and source people to put through these glorious systems? Like, our market is dominated by the big bosses. Boutiques are rare, so we spend a lot of time just sourcing good candidates to even put through our system. So any insight into that would be awesome.
I like Corded is a product on our marketplace. Corded and Humanize are both great if you need help with recruiting, but there's no substitute for. I don't have Tiffany's attraction process. I mean, I'm still having to recruit like old-fashioned way. And all right, I'm using the tools and the systems. I stalk the agents in my marketplace that I want. I co-op with agents. If it's a good agent that worked with, started calling our co-op agent, my agents co-ops, I call them. How was that transaction? Did you enjoy working? Would you like to hear more about how we operate?
And what I'll share that I use is I use social media a lot to, like, a lot of my content in the past year is actually agent attraction content, right? So I'm literally shooting specific things. My agents are speaking about their experience, talk about our tools. I'm doing our company masterminds and how awesome they are and why you want to be a part of them. Like, I'm showing an inside peek of what it's like. And that's how he attracts agents. And that's when they come to me. And if they're not,
Our best agents came to us like,
yeah, I'm looking on Instagram because for me, we're very social driven. And if you don't get the idea of content creation, I'm probably not the right leader for you. Right. So for me, if I'm looking for somebody, I'll look on their pages and see, do they already get video? Do they already understand the concepts of social media and how to market and brand themselves that way? And that's how I'm going and saying, I want to target this person and, starting engaging with them and then ask them to lunch or something.
Deborah, Tiffany, Brad, thank you for sharing all of your wisdom today.